Please bet on football games.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Please Bet on Football Games podcast. I am your host, Alex, here with the on-air talent, Joe. Joe, how's it going today?
Well, 2 losing weeks in a row makes it a streak, and the 11 winning weeks or whatever that we had in a row right before it feels like ages ago, and I feel like I don't know how to win a bet.
Yeah, I much preferred when we were winning every week.
Winning every week is better than losing sometimes, I think. We should do that.
I agree.
All right,
But
let's go through our bets.
not a great week, as you may have gathered by that intro, or if you actually paid attention to what we bet last week. We had 4 bets. We won 1 of them. We ended up down 2.3 units on. So into the bets themselves, all of our straight up spread picks lost. First up, we had the Los Angeles Chargers over the Houston Texans. We had a -3. That was a 1-unit bet. They lost.
Yeah, they deserve to. And the moral of the story is if you need your quarterback to give you an A+ performance to hang in the game, don't bet that team to win. Like I focused so much on whether or not the quarterbacks were products of scheme that I forgot about like the Chargers' entire roster sucking. And so while CJ Stroud did struggle pretty tremendously and he looked terrible for most of the game, he had those 2 pretty good drives right before halftime against prevent defenses, and they scored 10 points on that. And that was all they needed because Justin Herbert gave them a pick 6. He gave them 3 points. Well, he didn't give them. The tight end, Will Dissly, dropped a ball into the hands of a defender who then ran back for a short field goal. And then the Chargers, inept as they are, had a field goal blocked and returned for a touchdown, which is 2 points. In total, that's 13 points of just non-offensive points. And would you look at that? Houston won by 13.
Yeah, I mean, it was just ugly. And Herbert was trying to play some hero ball at points. And he also did some stupid stuff, had some bad luck. It was kind of just the worst outcome.
Yeah, like the Dissly interception had nothing to do with Justin Herbert. And that last interception, the 4th one, was just the game was over. He was throwing up hero balls, praying for something. There was nothing, the game was over. If they would have scored a touchdown on that play, it would have still been over because they wouldn't get the ball back. Regardless, we deserve to lose the bet because if Justin Herbert's not playing perfect, the Chargers have no chance. The Chargers' offensive line is bad. The Chargers' wide receivers are abysmal. The Chargers' offensive play calling is really bad. And on the other side, at the very least, Houston has a dominant receiver in Nico Collins who can make some shit happen. Houston has a legitimately good defensive roster, whereas LA's roster is a little bit of smoke and mirrors. I don't think that the score was indicative of how close the game was. I think it should have been a pretty close game, but for crazy turnovers. But I certainly don't think we deserve to win by a full field goal.
Yeah, no, I think deserved loss. I agree that some bad luck led to it being a much bigger, looking a lot worse, but we still absolutely deserve to lose that bet.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Next game.
One of our co-best bets. We had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers over the Washington Commanders. We had them -3. It was a 2-unit bet. They lost. Close game. Very back and forth.
Close game and a fun game if your entire online existence isn't hinging on it. If you were to tell me that Baker Mayfield will have 1 inaccurate pass in the entire game, I would have told you I will double my bet, please. Ball lied a little bit, right? Jalen McMillan once again inducing a ridiculous turnover. That's just what he does. And that fumble on the jet sweep totally changed the entire game. There's also a couple other unlucky moments, like Deion Jones dropping a pick in the end zone. Instead of the Buccaneers having the ball at the 2, they would have had it at the 20. Maybe they call different plays and everything goes differently. On 3rd and 1, Graham Barton panicked and snapped the ball too early. If he snaps the ball regularly, maybe the Buccaneers pick up another yard and they, milk some clock, score a touchdown, win the game by 4. But in the playoffs, when you are dealing with a really poorly coached team that constantly makes clock errors, that constantly makes bad 4th down decisions, again, There's 4 minutes left on the clock. Your defense hasn't forced a punt in the second half. You cannot stop anybody, and both of your starting cornerbacks are injured, which is another stroke of terrible luck on our part. To have both starting corners get injured in a game where the Buccaneers intended to play press man coverage all day really sucks, because in the first half, they absolutely contained the Commanders on offense by playing press man. And in the second half, when you have 0 starting cornerbacks left, you can't play press man, which fucks everything up. Back to my original point, though, in a close game, when you have a terrible coach who always fucks everything up that he touches, it doesn't really matter that the Buccaneers probably deserve to win, because you have to handicap yourself 3 points when you are betting on the Buccaneers. You know, if the Buccaneers are laying 3, you have to believe they win by at least a touchdown in order to bet them, because Todd Bowles will give away at least 3 points, probably 7. And in this game, I think it's fair to say that Todd Bowles, along with just lack of discipline and bad pre-snap penalties and miscues, all relating to the snap, oddly enough, I think they led to at least a 15-point swing.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that, like the timing issues, the just discipline, some of the substitutions and just disorganization of the Bucs in that game, that's a coaching thing.
Yeah.
You know, like that's 100% coaching. Obviously, like Jalen McMillan kind of screws up, so maybe he's a guy that you like, there's only so much you can do. But when you have that many things that are going wrong, I agree with you. And the way that Todd Bowles continues to survive is insane.
Well, he's built a great culture.
Well, and like, admittedly, he did have a good game plan for them until he lost his corners.
On defense, yes, he had a good game plan at first. Then he lost his corners and he had no idea how to bounce back.
Yeah.
And Baker Mayfield missed 1 pass all day, and they only threw the ball 18 times. They averaged 10.4 yards per attempt, and they only threw the ball 18 times.
Yeah, I mean, they also just didn't have the ball that often. Like, they ran too often, but they just couldn't get off the field. I mean, how many 4th downs did Washington convert?
Yeah.
So
and how many busted coverages? Like 1 touchdown and 2 big plays off just like busted coverages. Levante David stopped playing in the middle of a play, or Mike Edwards just standing there not knowing who to guard in the end zone. Like, just really poor attention to detail by the entire Buccaneers team. And that's why I think it's fair that we lost, even though I think that in a world where the coaching was close to equal, I think that, and the luck was close to equal, I think the Buccaneers win. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, because I think we do have to give credit to Washington in that Dan Quinn did a great job.
Well, that's the thing. We knew going into this game, we've got a shitty head coach in Todd Bowles who will fuck something up and take away points from us. And even if everything went the Bucs' way, right? Even if, if Graham Barton doesn't fuck up that 3rd and 1, Bucky runs for 4 yards, Buccaneers get to take another 2 minutes off the clock en route to a touchdown, you're still giving the ball to Washington with like 2 minutes left to win the game with a touchdown. And I do not trust Todd Bowles to manage that correctly either. So in the end, if the game is going to be remotely close, you just can't trust Todd Bowles. Doesn't matter. Baker could not have played any better. It was a near perfect game, but it doesn't matter because Todd Bowles is Todd Bowles. Yeah,
I mean, even going into it, if you remember from last week, I think I said that I thought Washington was going to have to score 28 points for us to lose this bet. And I think part of that was obviously Todd Bowles screwing up, but also I think it was the Washington offense was able to just consistently convert and just bleed clock and keep the Bucs off the field, because they looked at it and, I mean, they understand how good the Bucs offense is and how explosive it is, that if you give them enough touches, they're going to beat you.
The Buccaneers got 7 possessions on offense.
Yeah, and they scored 20 points, which like isn't terrible off of 7 possessions.
I mean, 4 scoring drives on 7 possessions is pretty fucking good.
Yeah. So I think Washington did a great job, and I don't want to send you off here because I know that this has been the only thing you've dealt with since this game. But Jaden did a good job of operating that offense and completing passes. He got helped out by his receivers.
Well, no, it's not even that. It's just like I'm literally I'm in the middle of making my video breaking down the Jaden All 22. I paused it to record this pod just because we got to get it done and it's late. It's all fucking screens and it's all fucking swing routes and it all gets 3 yards, but it doesn't matter because as an offensive coordinator, if you know for a fact that Dan Quinn's going for any 4th down that's remotely close, with confidence, you can just keep calling these quick, short, easy plays because the Buccaneers are going to play soft on defense, at least in the second half when all the points really happened. Buccaneers are going to play soft. you're going to be able to throw a 2-yard slant or a screen or what have you, and you will always be able to get 2 to 4 yards every play. So if you can keep getting to 4th and 2, you're going to keep converting, or at least close enough that you can keep going, which is how you get 17 play drives.
Yeah, I mean, but they converted. Like, they kept converting. And so, like, you know, even you look at the percentages of 4th downs, like, I think they well outperformed any of those analytical models that say you'll convert this many times. Because
I think they only had 2 4th down failures out of like 6, so I think it was like 4 and 2.
Yeah, because I thought they had like 5 conversions.
Probably. I could be forgetting one, but the only ones that they didn't get were where Daniels accidentally spiked the ball instead of throwing it to a running back, and the one where their Commanders fans think there was pass interference after the drop pick.
Yeah, I mean, like, he obviously wasn't perfect, but he did a pretty damn good job.
Well, no, those are the only 2 failures on 4th down, which means he got at least 4, maybe a 5th other one. Like, it's and they weren't like, shit, drops back, dodges 2 defenders, throws a deep dig. They were like, oh yeah, they're soft again. They're the drag. Like, it was Todd Bowles got outclassed. They just abused.
Yeah, but so, I mean, I think we deserve to lose this one. I think the Commanders, they played a little bit better than expected, and then they just had a much better game plan, or were able to, you know, kind of force their game plan more than we expected.
Dude, I didn't expect. I knew Dan Quinn would be aggressive on 4th down. I didn't know he'd be psycho aggressive. I mean, that was great.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that might have been the entire reason they end up winning that game. Because again, if you give the Bucs 2 more touches with the ball, they might score 10 more points.
Well, and think about it. Even the 4th down failures, like the one in the end zone. Yes, you fail on 4th down. The Bucs get the ball at their own 2, which is why they called weird conservative plays and didn't want to throw the ball down the field, which is why you got the fumble on the ill-advised jet sweep call. If you kick a field goal and punt to them and they get the ball at the 30, all bets are off. Everything's totally different.
Yeah, so I think that also that got us a little bit, because Baker played great. The offense for the Bucs looked very good. The defense actually looked solid for a half.
Yeah.
It was just they couldn't get off the field, and Washington had a great game plan. But we've talked about that one enough. At least we don't have to have the mental war over betting on Baker and Tampa the rest of the season. So
yeah, because I wasn't going to bet on Tampa again anyway. But
yeah, but still. Next up, our third and final loss of the week. We had the Minnesota Vikings over the Los Angeles Rams, -1. Sam Darnold, man, he has done a number on himself the last 2 weeks. I think so. I saw someone say, like, you know, he's lost probably $60 million in the last 8 days.
Yeah. 15 days ago, they beat the Packers, and he's getting carried into the locker room on the shoulders of his teammates who chant his name. And now he's certainly out of Minnesota. And, like, he's going to get a starting job somewhere, but it's probably not going to be as cushy of a job as he maybe thought.
It's probably going to be another 1, maybe 2-year deal.
Yeah, he's a bridge. Apparently, he's still going to get like 30 mil, but like guaranteed? Come on, no.
Yeah, I feel like that's a contract where you go, we'll give you 15, and then here's 15 in incentives.
Yeah. No, he's going to get bridge quarterback money, and he's going to have to go to a destination that's like Vegas if they miss out on Ben Johnson, or like
Giants,
maybe Indy. No, Browns are getting Kirk Cousins. I've heard it from too many places.
I mean, it makes too much sense, but also like the guy can't throw.
Correct. Yeah, no, what's really crazy is that it didn't even start against the Lions. It started in the 4th quarter against the Packers. He threw 3 interceptable balls in that 4th quarter, and none of them got caught, and they had a big lead, so it didn't matter. But Sam Darnold has basically sucked for the last 9 quarters of the season, and I really thought he would bounce back. I thought he would have time to reset, get his shit together, and play against a soft, cushy zone defense that he can probably figure out pretty well. Once again, he's just not seeing open receivers. He's not noticing defenders who are rushing him. He's fumbling like crazy. That's another one. I think it was closer than the score indicated, right? Because you get 10 points off of turnovers for the Rams. But at the same time, the Vikings never had a chance because they couldn't get the fucking ball moving. Because on 4th and 2, Sam Darnold's staring at a receiver, ready to receive the ball, and taking a sack for a -8. I mean,
he just looked so completely overwhelmed and panicked.
It legitimately was sad to watch, because you're watching a guy who's completely shell-shocked. completely panicked. Like his brain is gone. And we knew that Sam Darnold was a pumpkin, but he actually, even in this game, for the most part, was a good passer of the football. It's just there's so much else to the game before you actually get to throw the ball, and he was the worst I've ever seen at that part of the game. And that's not an exaggeration. I've never seen pocket awareness that bad.
Yeah, it was tough. I think we deserve to lose that one. Playoff staff is back.
Well, that's the other thing. We were worried that Matt Stafford maybe also was kind of retreating into his shell. No, he's still Matt Stafford. He's good.
Maybe we didn't discount the wildfires enough, or we discounted the wildfires too much.
I was going to say, I thought that they would be like a cloud hanging over their head that made it difficult to focus, and maybe they have some mental gaffes and like they're not as into it. They get off to a slow start. It couldn't have been more opposite. It was a galvanizing moment.
Yeah.
I'm not a psychologist.
We should make note of that tragedy is good for the hometown sports team.
Yeah. Well, it didn't really help the Saints there's no good way to talk about tragedies in football. Because that just made it sound like I'm
ESPN does
belittling.
it every draft year for every sport.
I don't have the like sympathetic music and like the pretty blonde lady saying like, and he never met his parents. He was adopted by wolves who were mean to him.
Just like, how was it growing up with a father that was in prison your entire life because he was terrible to your family?
It's like they took, famously, one of the teams at the draft asked Des Bryant, like, is your mom a crack whore? Did you not know that?
No, I do. I just remember.
It's like ESPN took that story and was like, you know what? They're on to something here. Let's do this for every player on national TV. But we have a couple months before we have to talk about the draft out of necessity. So is that all of our bets? Should we get to the next round?
No, now we got to talk about our one winner.
Oh, zippity-doo-dah.
We had Buffalo and Philly parlayed moneyline 2-unit bet at -120.
Yay.
So a winner. Brought us back from the dead a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, that one was slam dunk, locked up, easy. Jordan Love, not an NFL starting quarterback. Nothing much else to say about that.
Yeah, Philly definitely scared me a little bit, but they're just too talented.
I mean, we'll get to it, but Jalen Hurts is not competent.
Yeah, he did not look very good. The entire game, I was just thinking about your preseason prediction where you were talking about when they're going to be looking for a quarterback.
I don't think they're smart enough to realize Jalen Hurts is a problem. I mean, like, shout out to, I think his name's Bad Guy on Twitter, who was, after the game, trying to convince me that Jalen Hurts is the best quarterback in the entire NFL.
I would disagree with that.
I think every other human would. But I didn't think one would think it to begin with, so here we are. Shall we do some divisional round handicapping?
Let's talk about some football. First up, in the Texans hour, Saturday at 3:30 p.m.,
we have escape.
The Houston Texans going to play the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are -8.5.
I hate this. The Chiefs are certainly going to win. The Texans are not good, like, at all. But the problem is that the Chiefs never win by margin. And 8.5's a lot of fucking points.
Yep.
Like, it's a prohibitive amount of points.
Do you think we bet on Houston?
No, they suck.
8.5?
Honestly, I'm not joking. Outside of that 2-minute drive to end the first half against the Chargers, CJ Stroud has looked like unplayably bad.
Yeah, no, he has looked horrible.
Like Desmond Ridder level. So I certainly can't get behind betting on the Texans. They're not going to be able to run against this Chiefs front. You're going to have Trent McDuffie on, what's his name? Nico Collins. And Trent McDuffie is way too good at football to simply fall down and not cover Nico Collins the way that Christian Fulton did for most of the game last week. Also, like, Chris Jones is going to get his. Against that weak interior offensive line, he is going to get sacks.
No, you're definitely right. I just feel like Houston's defense is going to limit Kansas City.
I don't think it will, because you kind of create a problem similar to what Buffalo had against Denver, where, like, what really makes Houston's secondary good is that Stingley is a fucking king. But who is Stingley going to cover? Additionally, like, whereas Buffalo kind of has an advantage in that they don't need any of their receivers because none of their receivers are that good. Don't look now, but the Chiefs suddenly have a situation where all their receivers are pretty fucking good. So, like, if Stingley takes away completely Nuke Hopkins, you have Hollywood Brown. And if he takes away Hollywood Brown, who's finally healthy, by the way, then you have Xavier Worthy and Nuke Hopkins. Like, and by the way, Travis Kelce probably going to try a lot harder now than he did for the prior 18 weeks. So I think it's just too many weapons. Andy Reid off a bye, Matt Nagy and Andy Reid off a bye, and I really
been doing those interviews though.
He did one interview. Matt Nagy's not getting a job. His name is cursed and soiled, much like Marcus Mariota's and Baker Mayfield's were. Like, Matt Nagy will need an accident to get a job. Honestly, realistically, what's going to happen is next time the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, Andy Reid's going to get bored, retire, and give the job to Matt Nagy, period.
Yeah, I could see that.
Especially
like
now that, like,
with Bowles.
Basically, and like the consensus is already become Andy Reid's the best coach ever. Like, that was a hot take 5 years ago. It's no longer, it's now a warm take, or like a whatever the opposite. A cold take's a bad take, and a hot take's a super crazy take. So what the fuck is a take that is obvious and correct and everybody agrees?
Room temperature, lukewarm.
An axiom? Anyway, Derek Stingley is the reason the secondary works whatsoever for the Texans, and then Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson are the reason that the rest of the defense works. They're a sick pair of defensive ends, and the offensive tackles all year have been the weakness for the Chiefs. But I heard that they're going to roll with a solution that most aren't prepared for. They're kicking Tooney back out to tackle. Humphreys will not play because he's looked bad when he has played this year, and he's old and he's coming off injury, so that makes sense. And suddenly, you can double team Anderson or whoever else is playing left end. You can double team the left end with Trey Smith and Jawan Taylor, and that's A-okay. And you can stick Joe Tooney on Danielle Hunter, which is fine. It's not, you're not safe, but it's a plenty good matchup.
Man, Tooney was pretty fucking locked down when he was playing there.
Tooney is generally pretty fucking locked down. Now, I don't want to go ahead and say like a guard who's been playing guard all year is immediately a great tackle, but Tooney has played tackle and he's proven to be really good at it. So I'm not scared at all. This is one of the best offensive linemen in football. And again, it's Andy Reid off a bye. It's the Chiefs. I don't want to bet the fucking spread, but it's a leg.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, I think the Chiefs are definitely going to win. I could just see it being just because the Chiefs all year have kind of done that, where it's like, oh, they're way more talented. They should kick the shit out of this team. But it is playoffs. They're waking up a little bit.
Yeah, if I had to lean, I would lean Chiefs because in the playoffs, favorites roll. Big favorite. Like, people cover big spreads because they're trying to, right?
Yeah, and Houston is terrible on offense. C.J. Stroud could score 14 points for the Chiefs.
Yeah.
All right. On to Saturday night. We have the Washington Commanders going to play the Detroit Lions at 7 p.m. The Lions are minus 9.5.
It's another one where I just hate the line. Like, the Lions should probably score as many points as they want. If the Lions get 7 possessions, I bet you they score 42 points. It's just a gigantic mismatch in the trenches. It's an amazing offensive line versus a very, very average at the very best day defensive line. And it's a very versatile, deep group of receivers against, I don't want to say a bad secondary, but like a limited secondary, shall we say. I think Sanders still can and should shadow St. Brown, but I think Marshawn Lattimore has proven he certainly doesn't have it anymore.
Yeah, no.
And you don't want to test whether or not he has it against Jameson Williams because he will cook you and he'll have 14 points before you know whether or not Lattimore has it. And then you've still got Tim Patrick and Jahmyr Gibbs to contend with. And like Bobby Wagner is having, a quote unquote great season. Jahmyr Gibbs is his worst nightmare because you have to actually move to tackle him. Like Bobby Wagner is great at not moving and being in the right spot before the snap happens. Jahmyr Gibbs is awesome at making sure you have to move. Not great. Other side of the ball, and this is where the whole handicap comes down to. I don't think that the Lions are going to be good at stopping the Commanders because I don't think the Lions can stop anybody anymore.
Yeah.
But what I think is that the things that the Commanders do on offense mitigate the weaknesses of that Lions secondary. What I mean is, we talked about it a lot in our recap earlier, but basically the Commanders are daring you to play press coverage and tackle, and most teams can't. The Lions can and will. First of all, Aaron Glenn has proven that he will play press man cover one no matter who the fuck his corners are, because they're on like their third rotation of corners, and they're still pressing your ass at the line, and they're still playing cover one. Also, Terrion Arnold, big, strong corner, great tackler. Brian Branch, safety / nickelback, awesome tackler. The king of blowing up screens. A genius at it. And then Amik Robertson, I've heard it both.
I think it's Robertson.
But then why would anybody ever say Robertson?
I don't know.
He's also from Louisiana. They say everything wrong there.
Well,
anyway, Amik is 5'8", but the number one trait when he was coming out of Louisiana Tech, this motherfucker can hit. So I will take him. I will take him trying to blow up 5'8" Alamad Zacchaeus. It's not that I think that the Lions are going to be good at stopping this screen-heavy, short pass, Adam Gase style attack. It's rather that I think this short pass attack will not take great advantage of how weak they are at corner. Much like when the Buccaneers lost both their starters last week, yeah, Washington moved the ball up and down the field, but it's not like they were gashing them for a lot of points and explosives. They only scored 14 points in the second half. It's just that they wasted a lot of time doing it. I do think Brian Branch actually will have a really good time of breaking up screens before they even occur and blowing them up once they do. And then finally, it's not a great pass rushing defensive line, but they're all tough. Frankly, they're all defensive tackles, and then Zadarius Smith. Like Pascal Onwuzurike, Levi, and DJ Reader, they're all run-stopping defensive tackles, and they're all going to be playing on the defensive line all game because injuries and attrition. So you won't be able to run up the middle. You'll have a harder time throwing screens. Try and throw deep against the best safeties in the league in Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch. And even if Brian Branch isn't there, oh no, now you have Melifonwu, who's a sick fucking tackler. And you've got rangy, smart linebackers in Jack Campbell and Alex Anzalone, who are going to be able to spy and contain Jaden Daniels, who runs a lot, but the explosives are far rarer than we like to imagine. I think the Lions definitely win, but again, 9.5 points is a fucking ton in what might be a low possession game because of the way that the Commanders like to churn clock.
Exactly. That's where I was like, I think you can't bet on the Lions, but I don't want to bet on the Commanders either, because I think the Lions are just like the hyped up version of the Bucs in the sense that they have an explosive offense
And they can't stop shit.
and they can't stop anything.
Yeah.
But the Lions have much better coaching and will go for it on fourth down.
Yeah.
That they're going to match the aggressiveness of the Commanders.
Yep.
And it's just a little bit of, I don't know, man, the Commanders aren't going to hit 70% on fourth down again, are they?
Yeah, and the Lions have a much better offensive roster, right? Like, whereas the Commanders' offensive line is good enough, the Lions' offensive line is fucking nuts. Whereas the Commanders have good enough weapons, the Lions have legitimately good weapons. While the Commanders can run the ball a little bit, the Lions can run the ball a lot of bit. And then on defense, they're actually both kind of similar in that they're not very good. I also think there's something to be said for the fact that we get Ben Johnson off a bye, which is huge, versus Commanders off of their franchise-changing win that they've been celebrating nonstop.
I mean, both Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson been interviewing all over the place.
Oh, so they did like 5 hours worth of Zoom conferences for 2 days? They're fine.
Yeah, and as you've showed me before, that those meetings are mostly just like vibes and
It's pure
general
vibes.
philosophy.
Yeah.
You're not going in there like, oh, these are the guys that I want to get, or these are the dudes or the plays that I want to put. It's just like, yeah, I just like to throw the ball a lot and be tough.
Like, it's literally all platitudes. Like, I guarantee when Ben Johnson had his interview with the Patriots, the thrust of it was like, I'm going to come in here and turn Drake May into Tom Brady. And like, that's the biggest amount of substance you're going to get. And then from there, it's like, yeah, but what kind of culture do you like, Ben? I like a culture of tough guys. Oh, the last guy said he likes a culture of tough guys. But he had bigger muscles, so we believe him more. It's all stupid. The interviews mean nothing.
All right, on to Sunday. First up.
Alex?
No. At 2 p.m., we have the Los Angeles Rams going to play the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles are -6.
At 2 p.m. on Saturday, they're going to play this game at the same time as the Texans Chiefs?
Joe, it's like you don't even listen to me when we do this podcast, which isn't shocking for anyone that listens to this podcast. But I already said on to Sunday.
Oh, I forgot because that was before I paused it so we could go to the other room. Alex really wanted to introduce that team, or that game.
Just figured we'd use our time, but...
Dude, 6 points feels kind of crazy.
The Rams looked very good last week. The offense looked damn near unstoppable.
Yes. And why did they look unstoppable?
What's that?
And why did they look unstoppable?
Because McVay looked aggressive and Stafford was slinging it.
Yes. And why was that so successful? Because the Vikings play zone defense, and the Rams are the best at tearing apart zone defense. And part of the reason that Sean McVay was so ungodly when he first came into the league is because everybody was playing, or when he first started calling plays, obviously, as a head coach, because everybody was playing that cover three. Everybody was zone, everybody was cover three, and McVay torched it. In fact, you'll recall for a while in the NFC West, the Rams always torched the Seahawks always torched the 49ers, and the 49ers always beat the Rams. And everybody beat the Cardinals. And that was because the Seahawks ran exclusive cover three under Gus Bradley and his progeny under Pete Carroll. Whereas the 49ers would change shit up and play cover four, cover two, man. Now, the Eagles play exclusively cover four, or goddamn near it. That's a soft zone. Vic Fangio. It's going to be tough because the talent is just so great. Like, there's literally not a bad starter on the Eagles defense.
It's crazy.
Isn't it? Like, I don't know, who would you say their worst starter is? Like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson or Darius Slay?
Yeah.
Those are good players. Like, those are starting players.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's going to be tough to protect Stafford. Like, the Rams' offensive line is healthy, though, for the first time all damn year. Like, they have both their starting tackles, who are both really good, both their starting guards, who are good. They have their starting center, who does exist. He's not good, but he's there. That should be enough to at least keep the Eagles' defensive line in check a little. But then the problem is, like, Nakua on Quinion, tough. Cooper DeJean on Cooper Kupp, erased. Darius Slay on whoever the hell, right? Like, whether it's, what's Robinson's first name? Darius?
I don't know.
DeMarcus. I knew it was with a D. Yeah, whether it's DeMarcus Robinson or Jordan Whittington, Slay's got him. Tyler Higbee's hurt, might not play. If he does, Zach Bond's got him. There's not going to be a lot of easy answers, and you can't run the ball against this front. You just can't. So McVay's going to have to come out being aggressive again. And I think he can. I think he should. I think he will. But it's a big ask. The key for me is the other side of the ball, because the Eagles make their money on offense by running. But the Rams have sneaky, like, a top 4 defensive line, top 5. Like, Jared Verse is sick. He's Jadeveon Clowney reincarnate in my book. But he's not alone, because, like, Braden Fisk is a super athletic, good defensive tackle. And, like, Kobe Turner is a super athletic speed rushing 3 technique. And Byron Young, rather, is like an athletic, bendy, edge rushing pass rusher. I meant edge bending pass rusher, and I got my words mixed up and splattered, but it all made sense. The one fear I have is that A.J. Brown is unstoppable and Devontae Smith is good, and the Rams don't really have a corner who can handle that caliber of receiver. But Jalen Hurts isn't fucking giving the ball to the receivers. Like, the passing offense is inept.
He's truly become, like, what you've always said in your harshest reviews, which is he is the sole anchor holding this team back from cruising to a championship. Like, their roster is so good. It's so deep, but Hurts is just can't get people the ball.
PFF has Jalen Hurts rated as the 19th quarterback in the league, and if that were true, if you were really top 20, I think they walk to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I agree. So that's where I'm really scared of the Eagles, because even last week, like, should have been very easy. And, you know, it mostly was. But there were definitely points.
It mostly was until it fucking wasn't. It was 22-10 despite 4 picks and a fumble in the red zone. Like, they were gifted 5 possessions, and they still only won by 2 touchdowns. Like, it was scary. And, like, I was texting with the Birdwatcher, and I was like, I got money on the Eagles. I want the Eagles to win. I don't like where this is at right now.
Yeah, but they do just have so much talent in terms of people to get the ball to. And the Rams do have that very good front 4, front 5, but they don't have anyone that can cover.
The back 7 is a mess. I will say, Akello Witherspoon has impressed me. Like, just his athleticism. He's not great at sticking to these guys, but he's kind of got the Jamel Dean thing going where he is tall and he is fast. So, like, he's never going to get beat too bad, at least deep.
Yeah, and even when he went to the Rams, we talked about it of, like, this is a perfect spot for this kind of guy.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't think the Rams can win, but I think they're definitely better than 6 points worse. Like, I think that they're the right play on the spread, but I don't want to bet on a team that I don't think can win on the spread, even though it's 6.
No, I agree with you, because I think Philly wins this game just off. They have so much more talent.
The roster is ridiculous. It's a classic case of, do you want the fucking awesome roster with the bad quarterback, or do you want the good quarterback with the spotty roster?
Yeah, I mean, and we obviously last week wasn't a perfect thing, but the Rams need Stafford to have an A game.
B.
You think B? I think he's got to have an A game.
He had a B- game against the Vikings and he was okay. And I think the Vikings are a similar caliber team to the Eagles.
You only have him with a B minus?
He granted stopped grading in the third quarter.
Okay. Yeah.
But, he got like a 2 PGP and I doubled it to 4. That's about a B minus. He had some really nice throws. He was also not that accurate. But what I was really impressed with is McVay. Aggressive, pass heavy, really nice designs. Like he looked, I think I tweeted like, this is 2018 McVay. He's back. The fire has woke him up like a dragon egg. I don't know. Fuck it. I got to have some bets. Let's throw a unit on the Rams and be done with it. We think the Eagles win, but we don't think it'll be a blowout. And that's the problem.
Yeah. I mean, I'm fine with it because we have to bet on something. Just at 6, it still feels like a touchdown cover is still very possible.
Yeah, but I'm not taking the money line. So
yeah. All right. And on to 5:30.
The best matchup of the year.
Yeah, they scheduled this well.
This is going to be the funnest shit of the entire playoffs right here.
Absolutely. We have the Ravens going to play the Bills. The Ravens, -1, road favorite.
What do you think the weather will be like on January 19th at night in Orchard Park, New York? They don't have it listed on PFF yet, but I have a guess.
As soon as you clicked on we went to go scroll down, I pulled out my phone so I could go look up Orchard Park.
While you're figuring out the weather, I'm going to go through the rosters. The Eagles definitely have the best roster in the NFL. I think that the Ravens are second and pretty fucking close. They lack anybody that scares me on their defensive line, but the Ravens rather have for a long time done this thing where they say like defensive linemen are for stopping the run, everybody else is for stopping the pass. And because of that, their defensive line will always be a little underrated because we look for great passers or great pass rushers. We look for the fast, bendy sack artists, and they don't have that. They can scheme Van Noy and Odafe Owe into some sacks because they're athletic, but that's not like they don't have a Max Crosby. They don't have a Myles Garrett, and they never will. It's not how they play. What I worry about is that they're just going to have so many people in zone. They're going to have 7-8 people in zone coverage, and Josh Allen's going to have to be ridiculous to find ways to get Khalil Shakir the ball when he's almost certainly going to have... here's the thing. I don't think they put Marlon Humphrey in the slot. I think they will have Nate Wiggins shadow Khalil Shakir because of the size matchup, and I think they'll have Marlon Humphrey on the outside against either Keon Coleman or Amari Cooper, depending on who plays. But either way, it's going to be tough. I think that the offensive line will hold up pretty damn well. See, I said all that glowing shit about the Ravens stopping the run, but I think James Cook's a different kind of runner because he's not going to run between the tackles. He's going to bounce everything outside and just be so fast. Mm-hmm. So unless Kyle Hamilton plays linebacker, which he totally could, I don't think that they have the speed on the line or even in the linebacking core to run with James Cook, who's quickly becoming my favorite running back. Like, I don't see a tangible difference between James Cook and Jahmyr Gibbs, and they're talked about in very different light. They play the game the same. I love both of them. Other side of the ball. Okay, Matt Milano is back. Give him that. He looked very fast.
Yeah, he was all over.
It's tough to run the ball against the Bills, but it is Derrick Henry.
Yeah, and that just absolute group of maulers they have on the O-line.
Yeah, fuck. I mean, this is going to be a tough game.
Mm-hmm.
My thing is, you're not going to be able to run the ball and win this game if you're the Ravens because Josh Allen's going to do some things.
Yeah.
It's hard to beat a team twice. The Bills lost to the Ravens earlier, and that means that the Bills aren't going to take this game lightly. They're going to go back to the drawing board and reinvent their shit.
It's a divisional playoff.
Well, yeah, but like there's a difference between, how to put this. I almost think in cases like this, it's better to fail the first time because you have to start over. You have to try a totally new game plan. Whereas the Ravens might come into this game thinking, we won by 4 touchdowns last time. Let's keep a lot of this shit in there. Yeah, we obviously add new things and we develop, but what worked last time worked. Let's do it. And the Bills are going to be like, oh, we saw that. We figured out how we fucked up. We got an answer. Whereas the Ravens are going to have to handle a whole new battery of shit that the Bills never did before because nothing worked last time. Also, Josh Allen is just like the number one quarterback of all time at playing better in the playoffs than usual. It's something we talked about early in the season and a lot last season, which is when Josh Allen focuses up and feels like shit matters, there's not a better quarterback in the history of the NFL. The problem is just he's streaky with that. I identify a lot with Josh Allen and that his focus is hit or miss. And maybe he doesn't care as much as he should sometimes. Any of you who follow me on Twitter have seen my typos. I don't always pay attention to detail, but you better bet your ass that when I'm writing a brief that I have to submit to the court, that shit is tight. So I think Josh Allen will raise his game. I think he's scoring 30. I don't think you can hold the Bills low on points. And the question becomes, can the Bills defense stop anything? I think they're on the right track. They play a lot of cover 2. That is what I want you to play if you're playing against the Ravens defense. It keeps a lot of linebackers and second level defenders to stop Lamar when he runs. And you have safeties over the top so you can't hit like crazy big shit. Like nobody's going to be totally busted coverage. Lamar's not he's a much better thrower. Like, oh my God, his throwing in the wild card weekend was the best I think I've ever seen it. Not that he had to pass a ton against the Steelers because the game was kind of over pretty quick and they ran for 300 yards.
He's truly become that complete dual threat quarterback.
Yeah, like
he can still run like he always has, but now he's legitimately a consistently very good thrower.
Yeah, like for a long time he was called a dual threat, but really he was just a running threat who could kind of pass. He's a legitimate passer now. Like an NFL average starting quarterback passer, and that is all he will ever need to be to dominate. Like Lamar Jackson, his play is finally starting to match his hype. He's legitimately very good. And the Ravens roster is better than the Bills, and the coaching is better than the Bills. I just think that Josh Allen's that special, and the Bills are that unorthodox on offense. I don't think that Joe Brady's necessarily great, but he does the little things well. Like, I don't like his play calling very much, but I love his play sequencing, if that makes sense. He's really good at using play 1 to set up play 2, both with the actual play that's being run and how you have to react to it in zone, but also to the personnel he uses. So like, my boy Ebo pointed out last week, in third and short situations, the Bills love to go like 4 or 5 wide, light personnel. You get a lot of defensive backs on the field. They throw the ball. If they don't get it, they bring it in tight and have Josh Allen run out of a condensed formation because you don't have the big linebackers, the big defensive linemen to stuff the power run anymore, and Josh Allen is your power runner. And like, just because of the way we think of things, you got James Cook, your speed running back in the game. Defensive coordinators are thinking, I want my faster edges. I want my lighter box because we're trying to match the speed of the running back. And then you realize, oh shit, that doughy white boy is actually Cam Newton. So I will give Joe Brady his props in that regard. He's unorthodox and it catches people off guard. It's really good in clutch situations. And again, it's just Josh Allen is special. This is a coin flip game. I get plus money with the Bills. I'll throw it on the money line because if you ever give me plus money with a much better quarterback and a competent roster, I'm going to take it. I also just kind of feel like it's the Bills year, but that's not like a great bet. I'm not putting 2 units on it.
Yeah, I'm fine with taking the Bills. I think this is truly a coin flip. I can definitely see a world where we come back and go, no, okay, the Ravens are just a bad matchup for the Bills and they won by 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And we go, okay, yeah, we did too much projecting. But I can also see where the Bills throw something different at them. They have some guys back that weren't playing the first time, Matt Milano being a big one. And Josh Allen does Josh Allen things.
He has a tendency to do those.
Right. And, I mean, we've seen the Ravens struggle as they get deeper into the playoffs because they get figured out a little bit. Now, Derrick Henry and Lamar's increased passing do make me think it might be the Ravens here because they're still a very good roster.
I mean, I think whoever wins this game is going to put a ring on their finger.
Yeah, because like the Ravens, their biggest problems of previous years have been that their receiver core was inconsistent. They had a lot of guys that had talent, but they weren't getting great production out of it, partially because Lamar was still pretty also inconsistent passing. And they always had like, a good power back that could complement. But Derrick Henry is another level of that, where he's a power back that also creates a lot of explosive plays. So like they've got Derrick Henry creating explosive plays and keeping teams from keying on Lamar. Lamar can still run like he always has, is throwing well, and if Zay Flowers plays, he's a stud. But as we saw, they can still have a pretty good offense because Bateman, not super explosive, but he runs good routes and he catches. He's a good receiver.
Yep.
Aguilar, we all love Aguilar. He's the opposite, where he's explosive, but he's going to drop some balls and fuck up from time to time. But still a very good weapon. And then Likely and Andrews are one of the better tight end groups in the league. So they can still just put up crazy points. And I wouldn't be shocked if they kind of blew out the Bills because they just have that deeper roster. But we're getting plus money, and it would be fun to see to see Josh go.
It'll also just be appropriate because I think that Lamar wins the MVP, and I love when the runner-up beats the MVP head-to-head, despite having worse talent around him. That would just be so poetic.
Obviously, I would like Josh to win one just because it feels like he should, and because I think Lamar probably shouldn't have won last year. Or if he won last year, then he shouldn't win this year. But he's still had incredible years, so I can't get really that mad about it when it's kind of just a popularity award of like the upper echelon of guys.
Yeah, I'm absolutely not mad at Lamar winning the MVP this year. It makes sense this year. The prior 2 times don't make any fucking sense to me, but I digress.
Yeah, and it's the Ravens, so I don't really ever want to see them have success. So let's go with the Bills. Lake Erie Rose.
The beauty of having 11 straight winning weeks in the regular season is you could throw a unit on a team just for some fun.
Exactly. I'll go with my heart this time.
I have really bad news. I don't know if it's just because DraftKings is putting the penis in us, or if it's because I'm doing math wrong. But parlaying the Lions and the Chiefs money line is still like minus 200. So I guess my answer is going to be like, if you can find a sane sports book that gives you a 6-point teaser at minus 120 still, do that. But I don't think we can count it. I will be in either California or Nevada this weekend, so maybe I'll find somebody regulated in Nevada that lets me get down. Watch them not let me fucking place a $10,000 bet, you bastards. But we'll fucking see. I don't know. Not a lot of bets in this week. I think we did a lot of good analysis. I think we were kind of funny. A little bit. Not really. This is one of our lesser pods. It's kind of a boring playoff now.
Yeah, I think it'll get really interesting next week because you're going to have either the Rams or the Eagles presumably playing the Lions, and I think that game will be a blast.
See, I'm sick of the Lions because Jared Goff sucks, and I don't care beyond that. Like, I'm sick of it. I'm bored.
They just have so many fun guys and so many creative plays and people that I like. Where like J-Mo is finally involved, not suspended, playing well. Gibbs is a blast, and they just have a bunch of big beefy boys on the O-line.
You know what it is, dude? I've got to completely get offline because I wouldn't mind the Lions winning the Super Bowl if it wasn't for the fact that it's going to mean that all of Twitter is like Jared Goff elite, and I'm like gonna kill myself. So
it's fine.
As long as I'm
won a Super Bowl.
I'm thinking too much about legacy shit. Like, if Jared Goff wins the Super Bowl, I'm going to be disgusted. If Jalen Hurts wins the Super Bowl, I'm going to be disgusted because all I want to see is the Eagles with a good fucking quarterback, God damn it. Like, that would be my team. I would like to be an Eagles fan with the Birdwatcher if they could just get a quarterback that I believe in like 1%. But I can't. The Rams, that would be fun, but like I just don't believe it because the team is so crap. The Ravens would be sick, except then Lamar fans are going to be insufferable because they're already insufferable. The Commanders, I think I'd legitimately have to go into hiding.
Yeah, you would. They would find you so quick.
Oh my God. I think they already fucking have. Some dude, oh my God, you weren't in the spaces the other night after the Sunday Night Football game. A dude told me, I let him talk, and he was like, bang, bang, like threw a bunch of expletives out there, including some that I'm not allowed to say, and said he was coming for me, and he's gonna pull up on me, and I said, like, do it. And he's like, don't you ever come down to blah, 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 Florida, or I'm gonna get you. And I was like, why the fuck would I ever go down to blah, 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 Florida? By the way, it wasn't Miami, so like, it wasn't Liberty City, so like, probably not a place where you're actually gonna blah, blah, blah me. So, I don't know. He was like, where you live? And I'm like, I'm Lincoln Park, Chicago. Come find me, buddy. And he's like, Luke live in Chicago. He's going to come pull up on your dusty ass. And I was like, his name is Luke. I don't think you should be calling him that. I don't think that's even a little appropriate for a man named Luke. So somebody's N-bomb Luke is going to come get me.
Thank you for taking us on that narration of your Twitter space threats.
That was not nearly... I got so many terrible ones. By the way, I learned today... Guess what I learned today, Alex? My little sister, the one who lives in D.C., is a Commanders fan now. Yeah, it's good. She's telling me how happy they all are and how it's a magical time. And I'm like, I'm glad you didn't hear what they were wishing upon you a couple days ago, specifically. Yeah, no, good stuff. Yeah, CJ Stroud winning a Super Bowl would also be nauseating. I just also don't think there's a chance. And then the Chiefs winning in anything else ever again is just going to be sickening. As much as I love Andy Reid and Matt Nagy and Travis Kelce and like, dude, we've come so far. We've jumped the shark so many times that I legitimately forget that Patrick Mahomes was one of hashtag my guys way back in the day when I first started this shit. He was my quarterback one in that draft. I was like on a fucking island. Like, no. I don't care about his footwork. He's good. I give him a B+ grade when I never did that because I used to be an even harsher grader. And I don't care that I was right because I'm so sick of this shit. It's literally Bills or like kinda bust for me right now. I guess the Rams would be fun because like LA and I'd get to go back and whatever. But yeah.
See, I don't really care to see the Texans, Chiefs, Commanders. Yeah, I don't care to see those three win. Lions, I'd be cool with because again, Lake Erie Bros and a long-suffering city and similar to Cleveland. Rams would be fun just because I want Stafford to get as many as he can.
Yeah,
Eagles,
but the Rams don't feel magic and fun. They feel kind of like
not at all.
boring.
But I'd be fine with it.
I'd certainly be more than fine with it. But yeah,
I'd still find silver linings. Whereas the Commanders, I would just have too much like adjacent sadness for you, and like I'd have to go to your service and all that stuff like that. So
you'd have to go find Luke.
It really cut into my personal life.
You'd have to go manhunt Luke.
Eagles would be solid because I think they like legitimately have one of the best rosters. I used to really like the Eagles growing up because they would play against the Patriots and I didn't like the Patriots.
Yeah, fair.
So I'd be like, oh, the Super Bowl. Maybe this non-Patriots team will win.
Speaking of which, just briefly, small tangent. Isn't it wonderful that Vrabel's back to do the same fucking shit to us that he used to do with Tennessee yet again, where we can't bet on a team that we really think is underrated because Vrabel's going to run the ball 35 times?
It's going to kill you inside.
It already did.
But my last two, I'd be cool. Like the Ravens, I would be very split on because it's the Ravens. But as low as we used to be on Lamar, it is cool to see a quarterback that everyone, like even kind of us, were like, I don't think he should be a quarterback, turn into legitimately
a very good quarterback.
Yeah, one of the best in the league that wins a bunch of MVPs and wins the Super Bowl. Like that's a really cool story.
I want to make clear that I would be very happy for Lamar. His fans are so annoying that I wouldn't want to deal with that.
Yeah. Plus Mark Andrews is great. And then Bills.
I love their whole roster. It's all my guys. And then Lamar, whose fans are annoying.
Yeah, and that's
Lamar, who seems like the best guy, who has actually become a good quarterback, but his fans are annoying. And I'm on Twitter too much, is the moral of this story, is I need to get off and stop watching sports TV and just watch Star Wars.
And then Bills, Lake Erie Bros, Josh Allen.
Bills would be so
long-suffering franchise. That would be a blast. And you just know their parade would be so unhinged.
I might shed a tear if the Bills won. Because, anything can happen. If the Bills can win a Super Bowl, I can become an NFL GM.
I mean, that's kind of the Lions, though, too.
No, because
they've been even worse.
Jared Goff.
Exactly. If Jared Goff can win a Super Bowl, truly anything is possible.
No, I don't like him. You know why? Because he comes from San Francisco. And he knows my girlfriend. And I hate them, and I hate it there. And I'm going there tomorrow. And I hate it. And I don't want to go. And I'm going to lobby as soon as I land, hey, let's go to Lake Tahoe, please, right now. And I'm going to get my way. Also, the look on Stalin's face when I tell her that we have to spend Saturday and Sunday watching football and the fights on Saturday. Because my little sister's sparring coach is one of Mirab's actual corner guys.
Whoa.
So I've been conscripted to provide proof that I am watching, and I'm not going to fucking disobey the deep state. So yeah, Stalin's going to throw a fucking fit, and I'm going to say, bitch, I came to San Francisco for you.
Fair.
And it's not going to get me any brownie points, and it's going to suck. And this whole weekend of football is not fun to bet on unless you're live betting, and it's not possible in California. So, for my sake, because I can't, and because Luke might come get me, please bet on football games. Asta.